Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss something a bit controversial, why I hate Soul Land 2. But before we dive in, here's a quick disclaimer. This is just my personal opinion. You are completely free to agree or disagree with it, so please keep that in mind as we go through this. Alright, let's get real for a second. When Soul Land 1 came out, it was a game changer. The gripping story, the relatable characters, the exhilarating battles, everything just clicked. So when I heard there was a Soul Land 2, my excitement shot through the roof. But then I watched it, and what I found left me, let's just say, less than impressed. So why do I hate Soul Land 2? Let's dive into it. You see, Soul Land 1 was more than just a story, it was an experience. It had Tang San, a protagonist who wasn't just powerful but someone you could root for. His journey from an outcast to one of the most formidable figures in the Douluo Continent was inspiring. He had to work for every ounce of power, face unimaginable odds, and still remain grounded. It set the bar sky high. But then came Soul Land 2. New characters, new plotlines, and an entirely different vibe. The problem? It felt like trying to capture lightning in a bottle. Again, Soul Land 2 was constantly battling the shadow of its predecessor, and let's be honest, it never quite managed to step out of it. We loved Tang San and the Seven Devils. The new crew just didn't hit the same. They felt like a second attempt to recreate a masterpiece with a different paintbrush. Now, let's talk characters. Soul Land 2 brought us a fresh cast, and on paper, they were fine. But the problem was execution. Where Tang San's group felt dynamic and had this unspoken chemistry, the new protagonists in Soul Land 2 felt more like hollow echoes of their predecessors. For instance, the new protagonist, while strong and intelligent, lacked that underdog charm that made us root for Tang San. In Soul Land 1, we watched Tang San struggle, grow, and face his inner demons. We saw his humanity. In Soul Land 2, the characters often felt overpowered from the get-go. There was no real sense of growth, no grit. It was like they were already too polished, too perfect. And let's face it, perfection can be boring. Then we have the pacing. Remember those times when you'd sit on the edge of your seat watching Soul Land 1, your heart pounding in sync with the rhythm of the battles? Yeah, not so much with Soul Land 2. It had this uncanny ability to drag and drag and drag some more. Instead of an exhilarating ride, it often felt like a stroll through a park. Beautiful scenery, sure, but do I want to spend 10 minutes watching someone power up with the intensity of a turtle taking a nap? Probably not. Soul Land 1 was brilliant in its portrayal of power. Tang San wasn't born a god. He became one. We watched him scrape and claw his way to the top, learning, failing, and rising again. The stakes were always high because we never knew if he could pull off the impossible. But in Soul Land 2, it's like the characters were handed their powers on a silver platter. They walked into battles with the odds already tipped in their favor. There was no suspense, no edge-of-your-seat tension. Knowing that the protagonists are likely going to win every encounter without a sweat takes away the thrill. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, the animation. Soul Land 1 wasn't perfect in its visuals, but it had a certain charm, a fluidity that complemented the narrative. The fight scenes were engaging, the character designs distinct, and there was a palpable energy in how everything moved. Soul Land 2, on the other hand, felt inconsistent. There were moments when the animation quality just didn't live up to its predecessor. Whether it was budget constraints or a different creative direction, the result was the same. It felt lackluster. The 3D effects sometimes felt out of place, and the character movements lacked the fluidity that made the battles in Soul Land 1 so gripping. Then we get to the story. Soul Land 2 expanded the universe, added layers upon layers of complexity. On paper, this sounds like a good thing, right? Well, not quite. Complexity doesn't always mean better storytelling. Soul Land 2 tried to introduce new concepts, more lore, and multiple plotlines. The problem was it often felt convoluted rather than intricate. Where Soul Land 1 had a clear narrative path, Soul Land 2 sometimes felt like it was trying to juggle too many elements at once. Instead of a cohesive story, it became a web of threads, some of which led nowhere. Now, let's be fair. Part of the reason Soul Land 2 faces so much criticism is due to the monumental expectations set by the original. We were spoiled by Tang San's journey, the compelling storytelling, the emotional highs and lows. We walked into Soul Land 2 expecting that same magic, that same depth. So why do I hate Soul Land 2? It's not because it's objectively bad. It's because it tried to follow in the footsteps of greatness and stumbled. It promised a journey as epic as Tang San's, but it delivered something different, something that for many of us didn't quite hit the mark. Maybe Soul Land 2 was destined to be a different story. Maybe, in its attempt to outdo the original, it forgot what made the original special in the first place. It's not the power-ups or the battles that make a story compelling. It's the struggle, the humanity, the journey. And that perhaps is what Soul Land 2 missed. But hey, that's just my take. If you loved Soul Land 2, more power to you. Different strokes for different folks, right? My disappointment doesn't take away from your enjoyment. In the end, what matters is that these stories resonate with us in one way or another. So, whether you're Team Soul Land 1 or Team Soul Land 2, let's agree on one thing. The Douluo Continent is a fascinating world, no matter how it's told. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, or even if you didn't, let's keep the discussion going in the comments. What's your take on Soul Land 2? Let me know. And if you want more deep dives into your favorite anime and Donghua, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep enjoying the journey.